Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Payton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Monday, May 19th, and Mizzou football will have a new face at defensive line coach. Biggest news of the weekend, Al Davis is departing the program. If you didn't see this, he made a statement over on Twitter. I'll just read it verbatim. He said, "I made the decision today to resign from my coaching position at the University of Missouri due to personal reasons to focus on family matters. I want to thank Coach Drinkwitz for giving me the opportunity to coach here over the last few years and wish the program well. They have a bright future under his leadership." So Al Davis, defensive line coach, he was there since 2021. Payton, what's your kind of reaction to this loss? And I guess thoughts on it? You know, defensive line, obviously a very important position, especially at the college level. Obviously sucks that Mizzou is losing a familiar name at this point with how much coaching turnover we get year on year. I mean, it was nice to have Al Davis around for multiple seasons leading the defensive line. Just your thoughts on him choosing to resign and depart the Mizzou football program.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I think Kenny and I have said a lot on here that we're a big fan of pretty much every assistant on staff. Like, it's really kind of an all-star. It felt like in 2023, it was like the Avengers on this coaching staff at times. Just the recruiting wins, the positional, like, just growth. And Al Davis was honestly probably towards the top of that list. I mean, he had quite a number of like notable recruiting wins. Obviously, the big thing for him was the connection to Arkansas, which a lot of those guys didn't wind up really sticking with Mizzou or anything like that. But you can't really fault Al Davis for that in this day and age. It is a bummer because I also thought defensive line was really, for the most part, like, He handled interior guys, like he wasn't edge rusher. Obviously, Mizzou makes the distinction between those two. And I always thought that interior D-line was a strength. Never really thought it hindered. In 2023, I just think about how they had four really quality guys there. Sometimes more than that. It felt like you had Christian Williams, Josh Landry, Jaden Jernigan, Realist George. Darius Robinson for the longest time was in there, and a very productive D tackle. So it's a bummer. I'm sad to see Al Davis go. I really doubt he was forced out or anything like that. I know he had his statement, like a graphic for his statement, and Mizzou football quote tweeted it very quickly after. But Coach Davis seemed like a very well-liked figure in the program, especially after he took over for, like you mentioned, in 2021. He was the interim guy at first, I believe. They fired Jethro Franklin after like 8 games because it was such a mess at that position. And it became a real strength over the years under Al Davis. So tough to see him go, and I really hope everything's okay with him.
Yeah, he climbed into a higher role, too, at that defensive line coaching position. Just with that title too, of course, focusing more on the interior, but he talked a lot, about the guys on the outside as well. I think he was prominent in landing Langdon Kitchen from the D2 ranks, a guy that's going to be, optimal depth moving forward this season. But it seemed like he built really like a really good like trench setting from the transfer portal. All those names you mentioned outside of Darius Robinson were guys that they brought in, and you didn't really get to see his guys that he recruited over the past couple of years, step into a starting role, mainly because, it's a position that just takes so long for players to get used to it and get developed. There's not many instant impact defensive tackles out there. You got like the David Stones of the world, just a name that comes to mind in recent years for Oklahoma. But, sometimes it's just, you don't have the body yet, or just the technique to play that position. And so I think it was just a little bit confusing for some people. He was the defensive line coach. David Blackwell was already the defensive tackles coach for the past year. He was instrumental in getting Damon Wilson II from from Georgia. He has a lot of connections to those Florida products. He has an edge rusher coming in this summer for an official visit, in Ashari Charles, who went to the same high school or goes to the same high school Damian Wilson went to. So he has a lot of connections down there in Florida. He's big. He's big in IMG as well. So there's just connections there, and I think he'll be fine just moving into this defensive line responsibilities, and you just continue to let Brian Early handle the edges at the same time. I just had some recruiting notes too, just talking about some of those Arkansas guys. And, that class of 2024 was really eye-opening for Missouri, just kind of moving forward. I sound like a broken record every time I talk about this, but, you lose a lot of guys that you went after late. You lose a lot of guys you put money on. And, Austin Dendy was, a 3-star athlete who played some safety and then moved to running back. And Courtney Crutchfield was a 4-star, big-time wide receiver, getting him away from Arkansas, and he ended up entering the portal and going back there. So it's just some of those guys was a good connection, good pipeline. It looked like to Pine Bluff with Jordan Harris being the first one, and Al Davis was big on getting Jordan Harris. I mean, there's, you find guys, diamonds in the rough, late guys there. I was looking at some other guys that are just, still in the class of 2026 that are available. Danny Beal is a name that maybe a lot of people that follow Missouri recruiting know. Massive defensive tackle from a very small high school in Arkansas. Al Davis was big there, and there hasn't been much talk around him or much movement with getting him set up on official visits. I know Oklahoma State, Ole Miss, North Carolina were some big ones recently, but I think without Davis out of the picture, I think you're kind of almost closing the door there with Danny. Drinkwitz was involved there, but it's just, it's hard once you lose your coach at the same time. TJ Hodges is a running back, 4-star. He visited in November. He loved Mizzou. Him and Danny are very close, and they love that visit. Odd thing about TJ Hodges, when I talked to him, he said he doesn't talk to Coach Looper, the running backs coach, Curtis. So I just think that door might be closed as well. And we'll get into another one right here with Anthony Kennedy in the next few minutes.
Yeah, I think you both make some really good points. The losing a guy like Al Davis and like Payton said, I hope everything is all right with him on the, on the personal side. That's obviously first and foremost. I'm glad he's going to address whatever he's addressing. That's his reason to resign. But yeah, you lose, to me, so much consistency in a room where there are a lot of blue blood programs in the SEC, especially, that struggle at that position and have struggled for consistency both on the field and on the recruiting trail, Kenny was getting into with some of those connections that Al Davis has to Arkansas. There are teams that struggle with that, especially recruiting defensive tackle. It is a very hot commodity to recruit, and the money there for that position is high because it's a hard one to recruit. You have a more limited pool than some other positions. So this is significant, obviously. Kenny, what else should people know about David Blackwell in terms of his background and where he's come from, and obviously assuming a little bit of a bigger role here? Obviously you kind of just need an interim, right, for this season, and maybe they look to bring someone else in down the road. Obviously that could be a question or something we'll monitor. But what should people know about him taking over? Obviously he was the defensive tackles coach, kind of like Al Davis, getting essentially a bigger role leading the whole D line. What should people know about him?
Yeah, I think it's, he's a veteran coach. You look at it, he's 11 years as a defensive coordinator at Louisiana Tech, Old Dominion, East Carolina, Jacksonville State, Fordham, USF. He's been around the block. He's been coaching for a long time. He comes into this role as a senior analyst back in 2023, which is, the turning point for Mizzou football. That was a big year. He moves into the defensive tackles coaching role the next year. And just with a lot of his connections, that was a big thing about the Al Davis too. He had connections into Georgia. He offered a bunch of guys in Georgia at the same time. No matter where the defensive tackles were, he was still going after them. But Arkansas and Georgia were big ones. And that's the thing you always want to build out with some of these staffs, is those connections. And Florida is a state that Mizzou has been going after a lot since they moved to the SEC, especially with Drinkwitz there. Peeler is a big one down there. Jacob Yoro, Derek Nicholson. You can go on and on, just how much they like Florida recruits, and especially at the wide receiver position, just with how skilled some of those players are. But you look at, defensive tackles and edge defenders, it's a state that has guys that are very big at a young age. And that's what is really helpful with a guy like David Blackwell. I'm just looking at, his resume as well. He started his coaching career at Illinois State in the 90s. He coached at Pitt as well. He's a graduate back at East Carolina back in the early 90s, and undergraduate student assistant there with the rushing linebackers, which is kind of a funny position to call it when you think about it now, because some people might just call it edge defenders or outside linebackers. So yeah, he's been around a lot, and I think those connections will pay dividends with Blackwell. And I think just with his, tenure as well, I think that's what made the easy decision to give him all the duties that whatever Al Davis oversaw as well, while also helping out with the defensive tackles and maybe even with the edge defenders and defensive ends. Just with that resume, and just let Brian Early just continue what he's been doing really well with the edge defenders. Let him focus on that. Let David Blackwell overlook everything. I think Mizzou will be in fine shape. I don't necessarily know if I don't think they'll hire anyone. That's just like my assumption. It's just with where the season is right now, or just where the off season is. But I think that's just kind of the best case. We have a guy with such a long resume like David Blackwell.
I was going to say rushing linebackers at the time that term was coined was probably a novel concept. Now it's just what everyone does in different schemes. I think that's a good resume there. I like that, I guess I'd say I like they're keeping it in-house, but who knows if he'll become the full-time guy. I guess it's, it'll remain to be seen this season. But I was just going to read too a couple quotes from Drinkwitz in a press release. He said, "Today I accepted Coach Davis' resignation as he's stepping away from our program. I want to thank him for his time and wish him the best moving forward." And then on Blackwell, he said, "We're fortunate enough to have a veteran in David to be able to step in and fill any additional coaching needs we might have at the position. We're looking forward to a seamless transition as we continue toward preparations for the 2025 season." Obviously nothing super significant there, but putting out a statement nonetheless in a press release. And then Kenny, on the recruiting side of things, like you mentioned, you ticked off a couple names who could be impacted by Al Davis moving forward, one of which is, of course, Anthony Kennedy Jr., the defensive tackle. He was out of Little Rock, Arkansas. He decommitted from Mizzou. What's the status with him? Obviously seems pretty directly linked to those Arkansas connections and Al Davis not being in his position anymore, right?
Yeah, Davis recruited him since his ninth grade year before he transferred to Little Rock Central that semester ahead of his senior season. I mean, he's been with him forever. Got him on campus a bunch of times. Anthony Kennedy was the first one to commit. I mean, maybe it was a little bit surprised they committed so early in December, but it just made the most sense that he was going to commit there just because of his relationship with Al. At the same time, he was very open that he was looking at other schools. At the same time, he visited LSU and Bo Davis was still there. I think that door might be closed, though, with the Bengal Tigers, just because Bo Davis is now on the Saints staff. But Georgia is a big one for him. Arkansas, of course, being the in-state school. Tennessee was one that was really rising these past couple months, and one that he went to visit when he went to a camp as well in Tennessee. So he's looking just at his timeline. He visited Tennessee on March 29th, Georgia on April 12th, and he has an official visit actually the weekend that he decommitted from Missouri. So right now he should be on his official visit, wrapping it up as we're recording this. Still on that timeline, it says he has a LSU official visit set up. He's a kid that doesn't really announce stuff as much. It's more you have to go out there and talk to him or, ask him these things. And that's how it kind of gets late into the cycle as well, especially for maybe a defensive lineman that don't really want to talk too much with the media. But Arkansas is set up for June 13th. And I don't necessarily it's still on there. We haven't been able to get a hold of him if he's going to still hold that Missouri official visit for June 20th. I think that one might be replaced with Tennessee. If not, just he goes to Tennessee on June 6th because that's another weekend available for him. If a school lets him go during the midweek, because it's just, it's very fluid, and how these schools kind of approach official visits. Mizzou has exactly 3 weekends set up. I don't know every other school's visit plans. I think, maybe he takes it just because, he still has a lot of connections there, but I wouldn't be surprised if he just says no. That's just one of those things. Al Davis was the reason he was committed to Missouri. He's the reason he committed so early to Missouri. But he was still looking at other schools at the same time. It's just how the recruiting works these days. Commitments don't mean anything. It's going to sound like a broken record. Pen hits paper, then you are committed. That is literally what it means. But I just wouldn't be surprised if he kind of moves on from it. I'll try to get a little bit more and bring it to you guys on Friday.
Kenny, we're just going to nickname you Kenny Broken Record Van Doren for all the recruiting stuff because you do have to repeat yourself. That is unfortunately the world in which you operate with how fluid recruiting is in Payton. I know you have feel free to throw your 2 cents in on Kennedy, but to me this is a very real example of defensive tackle. I mean, yes, this kid is labeled as a 3-star. He's number 33 at his position, but you look at the offers he's getting, I feel like to me, it shows how valuable of a position it is, to recruit and get these, good big defensive tackles, because it does take long to develop them at the position they're required to play. I mean, that feels like an example of Missouri's going to have to try and catch up quickly here with some coaching turnover in terms of reestablishing themselves on the recruiting trail. Kenny mentioned Blackwell's, ties to Florida. Certainly seems like that'll help to me. But Payton, what do you think about that there? And obviously any thoughts on Kennedy? And to me, probably like Kenny was alluding to, I feel like he's probably not going to hold on to that official visit there at the end of June.
Yeah, I don't really care about Kennedy, I'll be honest. I mean, that kid was not committed. I hate when we hear the word committed and then we see 1,000 other visits being taken. I was curious because Kenny said he still has other connections. Who else on staff has he talked to?
It'd just be Drinkwitz. Like, Drinkwitz is a big one. I mean, that's it, at the point where, I think it was a couple years ago, it was a safety in Georgia. Payton, I'm blanking on his name right now, but he was like the lead recruiter back then, and he has connections to other guys.
Greco.
Yeah, Trajan Greco. So that was one big one that, like, it was a little bit of a surprise. Like, he was the one that was going after. It wasn't Blake Baker or, anyone else that was coaching maybe some of the secondary positions. And, he was the one that was going after him. I don't really think Drinkwitz does that as much anymore. He has a good tie with Evan Goodwin, who's an offensive tackle who they really like at Bauxite, and which is south of Little Rock, Arkansas, and a good connection there. I don't really think he goes out and does direct recruiting, but with the guys that they want to land, he will have those meetings with. He will be a part of it and talk to them.
And was he a part of that with Kennedy?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was a part of it. Like, they had the big things of bringing him in, and I think they went to see him. They went to see him in January. Him and Coach Davis both went to Little Rock Central just because it was a new recruiting grounds as well, because that was just right when Anthony transferred there for his senior year. But at the same time, man, it's still one of those things on there. I just sent out a message. If I get something back, I will tell you guys on the show before we're done recording.
Breaking news, two out of the last two shows.
I will throw out there about DeMonte Timms as well, because I had to jump off the show, but he did close, like, he didn't really close the door with Missouri. I think, it's a commitment kind of came out of nowhere. Like, he just was like, he told me leading up to it. I think I told you guys this, that maybe good news could happen, after this visit. I just threw a future cast in there just because, who says that without, thinking that they might commit? He committed a couple days later. It took a little while to get his graphics ready and all that stuff. But he got a Georgia offer this weekend. He went to visit. They had a big weekend down there in Athens. And, his recruitment's picking up. He's a 3-star right now. If he continues this track, maybe he has a 4-star defensive back. Gavin Sidwar told me he liked his tape. So there's a positive there. But
hashtag analysis.
Yeah, I will say, like, it is interesting. Like, the class of 2025 was very close. And I think that just happens with a lot of guys being from the Midwest. They know each other. They visited around the same time. None of these guys knew each other of the 3 that were committed entering this week.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they didn't know much of each other. I think you could have asked, like, yeah, they've heard their names. They know they're committed. They don't really know much about them. It's just one of those things where they're all from different regions of the country, at Arkansas, Florida, and Pennsylvania. It's just what happens.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be like, don't get too worried about it. This is a team that, has been very open about their love for the transfer portal, getting guys in, that are a little bit more matured in physicality and just, the mental side as well. And yeah, they're still going to sign guys. High school recruiting isn't dead. It's just not the primary focus, because Mizzou just knows, they've seen it firsthand, that guys will just leave. It's what happens. They're just free agents. Free agents after every year.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a thing that happens too with time in a class. Like, I know a lot of schools do those big end of summer visits where they have all their commits on campus and it's intentional and you get to know that. Like, I remember in my brief time covering recruiting, I'm no Kenny, but I remember talking to guys and even when they got on campus being like, well, I haven't talked to this guy yet, or I haven't, met him yet. That sometimes does happen, but you make a good point that it's really close. I'm interested to see how this, particularly with recruiting, how it goes for the defensive line, because I think that's already so difficult, and you have any coaching turnover, it makes it really tough. But we'll see. Anthony Kennedy, obviously, one kind of byproduct of the loss. Kenny, did you have another thing? I thought I heard you.
Yeah, they don't have another defensive tackle set for an official visit. I think that's kind of noteworthy too.
Yeah.
It's very fluid. Like, Anthony Kennedy wasn't even listed as a defensive tackle until like a couple months ago. He was a weak side defensive end and then just a defensive end. But he's a big body, 6'6", 330 pounds. I don't know how anyone can held him, listed as a defensive end moving forward, especially when he's being recruited by Al Davis, no matter the connections to Arkansas. He has, no matter what in that regard. But that as well, I mean, Anthony Kennedy came on the scene really fast. He was a 4-star top guy in Arkansas. I don't know if he was ever, I mean, you can look on here. I don't think he ever cracked the Rivals 250. No, he didn't. So he was just a guy that, got on the scene pretty quickly in his recruitment. He's kind of slowed down a little bit. He still competes in camp settings. I just don't think he's, with his growing size and how big he is, because a lot of those kids, his brother Bryson is massive too, and he's only an 8th grader, and he's, pushing 200 plus pounds, and he's like 6'4". He's a quarterback. These are just massive kids and just massive athletes. I think it just takes time, like we said, for defensive tackles to really get up to speed, and he'll eventually get up there, but I don't think that will be with Mizzou.
Yeah, it's 6'6" is like that borderline. You go play power forward or center, but if you get too big, you got to play offensive lineman. But are you too tall? There's like a sweet spot there. But yeah, that is noteworthy for sure. That Mizzou doesn't have one, lined up now in terms of who they're recruiting. So I'm interested to see how that goes for the rest of the 2026 cycle, because I think they're going to be a little bit hard pressed when competing with some of these other programs, especially in the SEC. But we'll see. We'll keep monitoring it. So there's a defensive tackle breakdown. I think we're going to do full positional breakdowns for Mizzou's actual roster later in the summer. But there you go. There's a recruiting outlook with Al Davis leaving. Biggest news probably of the weekend. And we will kick it to quick hits and finish out the show. Okay, quick hits time. We'll finish out the show. We have a Ken Sports Shorts this week. I'm told, per sources, that is not the Barstool Daily Dozen Trivia. Thank goodness. Kenny can't slaughter us and get all the answers right.
Okay. That's where I'm going to start.
Yeah,
I'll start that off. I cheated on the last one. I submitted a apology. I also submitted another apology for a reason we had to cut a part out of the last show and make Jack have to do a little bit more work. I didn't mean what I said, but it came off pretty mean. So yeah, Jack had to delete it. So I do apologize for that. But yes, I did cheat on the last one because I wanted us to get 9 out of 9 because I knew we weren't going to, and we didn't.
You know how obvious it was that you cheated? I said you cheated, and you immediately intentionally gave up on 2 of them really quickly.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I just wanted to make sure we all won and wanted us to be winners.
You cheated on others.
No, I haven't. I will tell you that on a quick hit on Friday when I had to jump off, you guys were talking about the Cardinals. The reason I also chose Matt Carpenter is because he played a round of mini golf with his family behind me before a game once. And the second one during our time when we had the Bet Online reads, we had like a bunch of futures. And one of the futures was to check on Matt Carpenter. And the date I put was for Jack's ex-girlfriend's birthday. And that was the reason that I wanted to say that. And now Jack's not going to say anything. He's just going to laugh.
We're just going to put everything.
All right. I'm glad we're clearing this up.
So I just wanted you guys to know that's the reason why I chose that, because you guys didn't get to do it. And shout out Stone Simmons. He had a great college career, even though he was very injured in the end.
Payton, somehow he managed to take over the segment, but I think I might make a graphic that just says I cheated with a picture of Kenny, and it will be a picture of my choosing, and I will tweet it.
Hopefully it's the one when I got my wisdom teeth taken out, because that was.
Oh, I have a couple options. I have some good ones. I'll pull one up for the end of the show, but do your quiz, man.
All right, here is my quiz for the week. During the 2022 Mizzou football season, your Missouri Tigers, you and Payton, I'm talking to you, Jack, they had 4 players rush for a touchdown, at least one in this season. Can you name all 4 players?
In 2022?
I'm pretty sure we had this one.
2020.
No, we did. I did 2019 once. This is 2020.
So it's 20. Okay.
So it's not. So Larry's gone.
No, Larry's there. Larry's one.
So Larry's one of them.
It's Larry Beatty. Drink was doing a lot of the really goofy
Salak run for receivers. One? He did?
Yeah, he actually ran for one at the end of the Alabama game.
Yeah, that I wasn't at because they didn't want to sell me a ticket.
Well, Kenny and I were there. It was a good vibe, that game. I enjoyed it a lot. Drink definitely got a couple receivers a rushing touchdown. He was doing end arounds like crazy that year.
Here's your hint. It is a wide receiver. This was the final year for this player at Missouri.
Oh my
Boo
gosh.
Smith.
No.
Older wide receiver in 2020.
Did this player play somewhere else after this year?
1 season at another SEC school, 3 seasons at Mizzou. Could be 4. I'm just looking at the ESPN stats, so it doesn't have a redshirt year.
But did he? So after this year at Mizzou, he played somewhere else.
Yeah, but for some reason, there's a 3-year gap.
What? Like what? Give me the years here.
Last year at Mizzou 2020, last year college football 2023. No stats recorded in
He
21
went to
and 22.
JUCO or something.
Okay. Interesting. That's very weird.
It's a wide receiver. I'm totally blanking.
I don't think Chance Looper had one. I don't think Lovett was a very gimmicky player, but I don't think he got a rushing touchdown.
Here's the explanation. 2021 sat out due to NCAA transfer rules. 2022 redshirted, but appeared in 10 games. Or sorry, it was a redshirt senior, appeared in 10 games off the bench, but did not record a stat. 2023 appeared in 12 games.
Where did this guy go? Did he go to Ole Miss?
Yes.
Okay. I can picture this player.
I'm totally blanking.
I totally know who this is, but what's his name? I know who it is because I remember this.
Who are the initials?
JN.
Jonathan Nance.
Yup, it is. It's Jonathan Nance.
It's not.
No.
Oh wow.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I was reading it in my head as like what this letter on the last name would sound like if you read the name. It's JK. That helps.
Oh, JK is the initials.
Yes.
I know this. I do know this because Lane Kiffin would gas this guy up in press conferences. Oh my God.
I don't know. I
do know it. I know it. I know
5,
who this is.
Yeah.
4.
Okay.
Wait. Are there other guys? Is this the only other guy that had a rushing touchdown?
Yeah, we had all 3 of the other ones. There's only 4.
Oh, wow.
2.
Just say it.
Jalen Knox.
Jalen Knox.
Dang, I did know that.
Yeah.
I did know that.
That's a good one. That's a good one,
That's
Kenny.
a fun one. Good job.
All right. Tigers in the Wild. Kenny.
My Tiger in the Wild goes to J.V. Brown, former Missouri walk-on, has found his new home at Division II Westmont in California, a little bit closer to home. J.V. Brown did have a Division I offer from Cleveland State with former Tigers assistant Rob Summers taking over the head coaching duties there, but decided to go a little bit home, go to the D2 ranks, a little bit closer to home.
Cool graphic. Palm trees.
Yeah. Congrats to JV Brown. He was I still text with our good friend Callum McAndrew over at the Columbia Tribune for the walk-on award of the year when we established that the last time he came on, and he would text me a couple JV Brown updates for the running of that award. I need to run that up again more formally, and in 2025-26 maybe we'll have a scoring system. But congrats to JV Brown. Hopefully he has some success.
Where do you think Danny Stevens will end up?
I don't want to analyze that. Payton, your Tiger in the Wild.
My Tiger in the Wild is going to be Sophie Cunningham because her team, the Indiana Fever, the team that she stars for, blew out their bitter rivals, the Chicago Sky. It was 93-58. I did say that Sophie Cunningham was the star. She didn't even play in this game for whatever reason.
Thank you for acknowledging that. This is a reach and a half.
Not sure why she didn't play, but the team she is on did play in a box office game and won. I didn't see much from this game. I did see Caitlin Clark kind of had a hard foul on Angel Reese. Good for the game. Their rivalry is fun.
You know how easy it is to find like information? I typed Sophie Cunningham into Google and found out she had an ankle injury. And that's why she missed the home opener.
Didn't know that. I don't know why Jack's laughing. He could have done that too. He didn't.
You could have done that.
This isn't my quick hit.
Okay, moving on.
I only need to acknowledge that she didn't play. Caitlin Clark triple double. By the way, that one 2010 and 10. My Indiana Fever. All right. My Tiger in the Wild is Taylor Pinnell. This is an unfortunate one. We had some, I guess it was a bit of a bummer news segment at the top of the show, and this adds to it. This just kind of came out before we started the show, recording the show here on Sunday. Taylor Pennell is going to the transfer portal, as you can see from Justin McLeod there on X. Pennell, single season NCAA record of 15 saves in 2024, 2.75 career ERA with 24 saves and 11 wins, 123 strikeouts, and 129.2 innings of work. This is a bummer. I mean, this is a big loss for Mizzou softball. We talked with Karen a couple of shows ago about kind of how they're building. I'm a bit surprised by this and bummed as well. I don't know if y'all have any thoughts, but I mean, this one hurts for sure. I know it was a down year last year for Mizzou softball, but now kind of after adding this to a building block, you're already kind of rebuilding that pitching rotation. This one sucks to lose with Taylor Pennell hitting the portal, Payton, Kenny.
Okay, Kenny's got nothing to add.
You always go first, so
Kenny.
Okay, one of the first things that the only thing that pops up is that she did have to start 7 games this year. That was something that we talked about, and kind of losing that closing role as a relief pitcher. I think that kind of throws a wrench into how you kind of see your career panning out, especially if you're trying to play beyond college in any pro league that's out there. 3.33 ERA this past year, so kind of a drop after being such an efficient reliever and closer, saving 15 of your 30 appearances. Of course, not every single one was a save opportunity, but 1.21 ERA during that 2024 season. That was really good for Missouri. Incredible year, 35 strikeouts and 34 and 2/3 innings. And you look at this year, such an uptick in innings pitched, 73 and 2/3. It's blowing out that last year out of the water, and just a lot more just toll on that arm. So that's probably something that might have played a part in it, and just trying to go find an opportunity at another program that's winning and be that closer moving forward.
It's very kind of rough as well, because I mean, Karen, when she was on, mentioned needing to really restock the pitching staff. You don't want to lose one of your building blocks. Going to be quite the off season ahead for Larissa Anderson. She's going to have to. They fired a coach as well. I don't think we had that in Quick Hits. Their hitting coach is being replaced, Jeff Cottrell. So very, very important offseason ahead for Mizzou softball.
Yeah, they're good points from both of you in terms of, she kind of had to step out of her more natural role that she was really shining in terms of a reliever and that closer. This is a bummer for Mizzou softball for sure, as they try and rebuild the pitching rotation. So we'll see. Larissa Anderson, big prove it off season coming up with Taylor Pennell deciding to hit the portal. Headlines. Kenny, your headline, my friend.
UFL announces standout performers for week 7.
Who wrote this?
Nope. Oh, it doesn't say. It's probably just
that's why
press
I said
release.
Yeah. Someone's got to credit themselves. Come on.
But I love this, that they do have sponsors for some of these awards in the UFL. The Pizza Hut Offensive Player of the Week, Jordan Teamu, probably a good amount of SEC
crazy
fans
name as well.
Might remember him. The Ortho Defensive Player of the Week, but nothing for the Special Teams Player of the Week, who is the reason why we're talking about this, and that's Harrison Mevis, kicker for the Birmingham Stallions. He went to a flawless performance, going 3 for 3 on field goal attempts and accounting for 9 total points in Birmingham's thrilling 33-25 comeback win over Houston. Known for his poise under pressure and long-range accuracy, on Sunday he connected from 41, 20, and then 52 yards. Big day for Harrison Mevis, and Jack actually threw in a video here from Benjamin Hockman, and the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, coming in and playing against the Battlehawks here this past weekend here on Saturday. Really cool to see him back in Missouri, and he's still the thicker kicker.
He's played in that stadium before. He actually executed an onside kick, but it got flagged, which is a bummer. But
against Seth Hennigan's Memphis Tigers.
Yeah. Harrison Mevis, one thing from the UFL that kind of has, there's been a lot of guys that have carried over into the NFL is kicker. The Lions kicker from this past year was in the UFL for a while. I believe he hit the famous 60-something yarder to win a game. So if Harrison Mevis kicks it up, there's a chance he could get another shot there.
Was that a pun? You said kicks it up. Was that a pun?
It wasn't. I didn't even mean to do that. No, I just am that witty, I guess.
It's taking, I don't know if it's the different filming location for Payton this week, but it's taking like an extra second for the questions to process to him. It was like, is that a pun? I don't know what you meant. I'm sorry, Payton. That's an unnecessary dig. What's your headline?
My headline is journalism has won the 150th Preakness Stakes. Yes, folks, the betting favorite, I believe he was for the Kentucky Derby. Didn't quite get that one, but he did come back and win the Preakness, the second leg of the Triple Crown races. It's also NBC Sports had a great caption for it. Quote, a remarkable recovery by journalism, end quote. Journalism wins the 150th Preakness Stakes. That's a good omen, as Anthony Christensen, friend of the show, said.
Huge win for journalism. Huge win for journalism. We love to see it. Did Pat Forty wear his hat to the post game scrum? I don't think anything came out this time.
Wait, that was Pat Forty?
Yeah. It's another unnecessary callback. I was bummed because I was with my grandfather this weekend, and he told me journalism won the Preakness. And I went, I'm going to talk about that on my podcast. And I went to text you guys, and Payton already had a text and put it as a quick hit. So I'm glad we mentioned it. Win for journalism. My headline of the week reads as follows. It is from Mizzou Today, of course. Mizzou set to hire Gavin McCone as director of basketball operations. Another staff change here for Mizzou men's basketball. Gavin McCone coming in as the next director of basketball ops. That's where Dallin King was in position previously. He followed Rob Summers to Cleveland State. So McCone comes in with some interesting experience. He was at South Florida and Kennesaw State under Amir Abdur-Rahim, of course, who was led both of those programs, had a lot of success with those programs as well. So filling kind of that director of basketball ops role. It is not the GM, as he was still looking for the GM. We wouldn't just throw the GM with all the GM talk I've forced on this show. We wouldn't just throw the GM in quick hits. I wouldn't let that happen. But Payton, Kenny, thoughts on Gavin McCone coming in as the director of basketball ops?
I mean, they'll hire the GM eventually. It's kind of, I don't have any real thoughts on this one. The GM is kind of what we're all waiting on at this point, with both the assistant coach spots filled. Now I don't believe they have any other openings, so hopefully they do.
Yeah, there's an assistant role too.
Yeah, one more.
McCone that needs to be filled as well, because there was the person who was in that, and it's just a lot of names that are moving. But it was that pipeline to VMI that became an assistant.
Oh, true. Yeah, like
VMI.
two guys went there.
Yeah. So one role still to fill. I like this hire. I mean, the only thing I really know about it, I mean, Amir Abdur-Rahim, very similar in terms of like a program builder to Dennis. I covered one guy who came from that Kennesaw and South Florida pipeline, and he had a lot of good things to say about that and his coaching style. So a product of that with Griffin McCone coming in is exciting to me. I think that's a good coaching tree to come from is where I get with that. So one hire in from Mizzou men's basketball. Payton, that's all I have, my friend. Do you have a joke? Oh, Kenny has a note. Hold on. Kenny's got his hand up.
I got two things, just because I like to interact with our YouTube commenters, just so we have something on there. I will say, Payton, just on a positive note, Payton's grandmother was excited to see that it turned into a 3-man show. She was worried that it was just going to be Jack for a little bit. She was worried. She was like, I don't want it to just be Jack. And then she found out,
what's wrong with that?
It's my beloved Payton and my favorite co-host, Kenny Van Doren. And she was just very happy to see that. So shout out grandmother Clara. Okay, then Sam, MIZ Sports, one of our close commenters. Maybe we should give Sam a title, just on the show as well. This goes back to the JJ Andrews stuff because Jack was the lead on that. But I just want to throw these out there just because to see your thoughts, Payton. As well, just because Jack was the one who got to hold on to that conversation and talk by himself. I'm not surprised we missed on JJ Andrews. Sadly, I think losing CY and having to outbid Arkansas here, the two main reasons why we didn't get him. Who knows? Maybe we could get him, but Gates has shown a tendency to not re-engage with guys after they spurn us the first time. And then another one, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but I will just spell it out. I think that's a little bit easier. CANISLUPUS 5. Is that Canis Lupus 5? They've been a big commenter for us recently and said, why is the Andrews miss a surprise? Gates doesn't seem to be a great destination for guys who want to play as freshmen. He stuffs the team with transfers versus developing the youngsters. Just wanted your thoughts on that, Payton.
Well, I still don't really agree with that because the one time Dennis tried to play freshmen early, they were terrible. Anthony Robinson and Trent Pierce, I don't think really got anything out of their freshman years, I'll be honest. I know they made jumps. Anthony Robinson, a really big one, but I don't think a lot of that comes from what they did as freshmen. The reality is freshmen normally aren't big contributors on high major teams very often. It's very, very rare. And when it happens, it's almost always blue chip talent. Like people just, I don't blame people for wanting to see freshmen at all. Youth is exciting. It's fun. It's like the wild card aspect. And obviously Coach Cal has made a living off of mainly using just lottery talent to win so many games. That's just not what most programs do. It's not really what Missouri can be, I don't think.
It's not even what Cal does anymore necessarily.
Yeah, and Cal has really cooled off on it. He still has a lot of like draft picks come in, but not to the extent he did at Kentucky. I don't think it's realistic to expect Mizzou to do that, to play guys early. I don't think it's a thing that happens at a lot of places. Even if they got JJ Andrews, I don't think he would have played early. I don't think he's going to play early at Arkansas. So that's just kind of my take on playing freshmen early.
I think the other thing I'll add to that too is the second commenter asked why it was a surprise. I think Kenny, it was a surprise because everyone predicted him to Mizzou. I don't think the surprise was that they missed on him. It was that they missed on him because they seemed, very predicted heavily to get him. I don't think, people are necessarily stunned that they got gypped by Arkansas, but that seemed like where it was going.
Yeah, a lot of people were quiet too about it, but at the same time, it wasn't just us that were kind of feeling that way. It felt like a lot of people were thinking, oh, he's leaning towards Mizzou. This is going to happen. And I was thinking about this too. I was picking up Payton from the airport. Like, if you don't know, Payton's in my house right now. He's over there.
He's inside my
walls. Currently sitting. But it's just, yeah. So it's just one of those things where we were driving home and I had my phone ready. I think I would have asked Payton to click the publish for me and then copy my link over for me so I didn't have to do all this driving. But we pulled onto my street and I got a notification and he was in an Arkansas uniform. And then Payton and I was like, is this an old tweet or an old photo? What are we looking at? And it was just a surprise. And I was thinking about it too. There was no bat signal. I think Gates has been good about the high school ones where he posted a couple minutes before the announcement happens. And I was thinking about it. I didn't even go out. So maybe that was kind of a thing that we just didn't even think about because Payton and I were just assuming by the time we got home, I was going to have to take a few minutes off, let him settle in. And I had to, type something up, just the stories. Everything's pre-written these days, but, just put it out there, get everything done. And then you see the Arkansas thing. It's oh, okay, there's nothing we have to do here. Just hit a retweet, day's over. But that's why it was surprising because a lot of people were assuming it. But at the same time, people on the Mizzou side were a little bit quiet, not really sharing too much. Bradley Beal Elite was quiet. His high school was quiet, but I think that's a good thing too. Let the kid have his moment. Everyone has their assumption on where someone's going to go. We all know ahead of time these days. But I think that's kind of you're missing that thrill in some aspects. And same thing with Jackson Cantwell. Not a lot of people thought he was going to Miami until the last second.
Yeah, so that was where the surprise factor came in. Was it felt like a lot of the recruiting people in the know figured he was going to go to Mizzou, and then obviously he zagged, which he has every right to do that. It is his decision. But yeah, I think Payton, you make some good points too in terms of the difference between transfers and freshmen and the contributors. And yeah, everyone, I feel like, you have to kind of take a step back with these guys and let them, be the developable products that they can be and not get too impatient. Coaching staff, and otherwise alike. I think it's just it is a process a lot more than people realize because they see all these blue chip one and done guys. But we'll see. We'll keep our eye on Mizzou men's basketball recruiting. That'll do it for the unwritten rule. Hope everyone enjoyed the show. They're pulling some stunt. I thought they were there. They come. Never mind. They're back in their seats as normal. Thank you everybody for watching, listening. Please subscribe on the YouTube if you're watching. Give us a follow on Spotify too if you're listening. Kenny, you're muted there, my friend.
Peyton, do you have a joke?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Peyton. Do you have a joke?
Yes, Kenny. Thank you.
Normally, Peyton, you have it pulled up in your tabs at the top of your computer screen.
Thank you, Kenny. This one's just a fun one. Why did Waldo
Is
go
it
to
from
therapy?
our friends at the Today Show, Mr. Payton?
Yes, Al Roker wrote this one.
No, is it from our favorite TV series, The Today Show?
Favorite TV series, The Today Show.
This one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. Why did Waldo go to therapy?
Because he didn't know where he was.
Is it to find himself?
Ding, 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 ding.
Wow.
Good joke, Peyton.
That Al Roker really was in his bag for that one. Disclaimer, we don't know if Al Roker wrote it.
All right. That'll do it for the unwritten rule.
I love minor league baseball.
Thank you to Kenny and Peyton. We will be back with some more Mizzou news next week. Subscribe on the YouTube if you're watching. Give us a follow on Spotify. Thank you to all who commented too. Keep commenting stuff. We'd love to talk about that and let it kind of drive what we talk about, especially in the off season. So please feel free to drop your thoughts down below. And we will see you next time.